In the world of electronics, there's always lots of things plugging into each other, and the more wires there are, the harder it is to keep things organized. Sometimes there's no way around this, and that's totally fine, but anytime there's a chance to clean up some of that clutter, I'm all in. I recently worked on an open source project with Tianfeng that's a basic SCART coupler. I wasn't sure if people would care about it or if it would even work properly, but it seems to have performed really well and generated a lot of interest, so I figured I'd put together a quick video about it. The coupler is essentially one board that links two SCART plug adapters with a really nice case designed by Greg from laserbear.net that holds it all together. It's routed in a way that tries to keep the audio, video, and sync traces separated as best as possible on a small two-layer board to prevent any interference from being added. It's really easy to solder together, and the only tricky part is lining it up so both connectors sit evenly. Greg also designed a 3D printable jig for anyone who plans on soldering their own that makes it all really easy. Just get it started in the jig, then it should be solid enough to finish without it moving around. There's also a pad available to connect ground to the metal shielding, however many devices use the audio and video ground pins in the connector, not the shield. If you're making these yourself, I'd probably just test without it connected first, just to see if your equipment needs it, since soldering to the shield can be a pain. After it's together, simply add the 3D printed case, which is actually the same piece for both sides. It's also keyed based on the pointy side of the SCART connector, meaning you can't accidentally install it upside down. What you end up with is essentially a sturdy, 2-inch SCART cable that's bidirectional. You never need to worry about what side to plug into which device. I prefer using these in my G-SCART switch to connect the RetroTink products or the OSSC. You might be wondering why it's so tall when there was plenty of space to make it smaller, and the OSSC is the answer. While the Tink products would have fit almost flush, that extra space was calculated to be just enough to clear the biggest SCART cable I had to make sure it could be used with the second G-SCART switch output being plugged in as well. The length means you need to be extra careful with cable management though, since if a wire pulls it to one side, you could damage the receptacle in the G-SCART switch. I actually find this pretty easy to manage, but I wanted to make sure I put the warning out there, as I don't want anyone breaking their switch as a result. The coupler isn't just for convenience though. See, in the world of analog video, the longer the cable, the more interference could possibly be added, and also anything that you put in the device chain could potentially add interference as well. So the fact that this is so short and it's well routed really makes a big difference in the signal. To test this coupler, I used a SNES SCART cable that syncs on composite video and ran it through my G-SCART switch with the sync regeneration turned off so it passes the full composite video signal. If the traces weren't run properly, then interference from composite video sync could bleed into the colors, causing jail bars. As you can see here, the coupler doesn't add any noise to the image that isn't already there, just like when using a fully shielded 6-foot SCART cable. Also, if we zoom in about 1000%, you could even see a small performance boost in the video over the cable. Now, I want to be perfectly clear about this. The difference is so small, it's impossible to notice during gameplay, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that SCART cable. In fact, I bet a 1-foot version of the cable would perform identically to the coupler. I'm just saying, we did our diligence testing this to make sure no performance is lost on either audio or video, and once again, the shorter the cable the better when analog video is being used. And it performs great on the audio side as well. We could see using MD Fourier analysis that there's slightly less noise with the coupler than the cable. Once again, these aren't real-world differences and the SCART cable is still great. I just wanted to show our measurements to prove its performance. So overall, this isn't a device that would help everybody's setup, but if you use a SCART switch with something like the OSSC or one of the RetroTink products, this might be a great way to tidy things up while not losing any performance whatsoever. Now, this is an open source project, so you can feel free to make your own. However, it might be more cost effective to just buy one pre-made, and I believe a few stores are going to be stocking these, so I'll make sure to keep the description updated with any links to orders or pre-orders. But overall, I'm just really glad that this is out there and able to help people with their setups. That's it for this time. If you liked the SCART coupler and the video, please consider signing up for any of our support services such as Patreon or Floatplane, as your support is what makes these projects happen. Also, check out the weekly podcast that keeps people in the loop of everything going on in the retro gaming scene, available every Wednesday as a video and wherever audio podcasts are found. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.